I'd like to move on to our next speaker, Caryll Tozer, and she's from Sri Lanka, and she's been an activist, she's been an athlete, and somebody I am thoroughly impressed by. I think I'd be doing a disservice if I just carry on speaking. So I'd want Caryll to go ahead and enlighten us about her work on women empowerment, on not just women empowerment, but also animal rights, everything. Tell us everything about what you have to see, the wins and challenges, Caryll.
Caryll, you have to unmute yourself.
Sorry. Thank you, Natasha. And thank you so much, everyone, for giving me the space to speak. I was a national netball player, basketball player. I rode, and I did athletics. So, in my time, I was one of the tallest girls around. And so I suppose, I was much in demand. Subsequent to that, I still play in the Masters tournaments. And I have to stay fit and work really hard because I play with much younger players now. I used the podium that I had and the space that I had to bring awareness and to encourage younger women to become much more empowered and, to be able to get out there in the kind of space that we are all working in. And it's sad to hear because I think we all in the Asian region have similar issues that we are dealing with. So as many challenges and barriers faced by women include the structural norms of sexism and social conservative patriarchal perceptions and discriminatory attitudes. So that women in sport are constantly forced to put up with the challenges of patriarchal scorn and misogyny is a reality that need a great deal of exposure. And that note goes without saying that there should be no place whatsoever for any forms of racism or sexism or colorism or homophobia or other dehumanizing phobias in the sporting world. Sporting world is somewhere we even though we were on opposing teams, we always got on later on because we all kind of spoke similar language. So, sadly in our region, women are expected to take a back seat to men, and they give up too soon because of this. The lack of sponsorship on female athletes, or from funding to clothing to or even equipment, is evident. There's also abusive treatment of sportswomen, which is not unknown. Lack of good number of females in coaching and training, physiotherapy, it exacerbates the issues because we are living in a man's world. In comparison, male athletes are somehow revered and celebrated, while female athletes are somehow looked at with skepticism. Their bodies are talked about, what kind of clothes they wore, etc. For example, in Sri Lanka, in the sphere of cricket, we had a really good Sri Lankan team. And so systemic forms of discrimination are so entrenched in the sporting sphere that, although we have a strong Sri Lankan female team at cricket, they're never talked about. You never see their matches on air. So, anyone committed to addressing gender-based systemic discrimination in sport has a really uphill battle. Anyway, out of adversity, women today are becoming stronger. Both urban and rural women are obligated to prioritize survival. It is a destructive reality that has to be promptly addressed through concerted and transparent measure. Media now covers some of the women's sporting events, but not quite balanced. Females have the equal right to contribute to sport reporting through commentary, etc. And the authorities, I think, we need to work hard to take affirmative action in this regard. The sporting sector in Sri Lanka often makes news to conflicts and confrontations between individuals spearheading sporting federations due to a great deal of politicking and bureaucratic interference in their management. A lot of the sporting federations, even if they're women's sports, are headed by males. So I think we need a systemic change, which is urgently required. And finally, we come to the wins, and believe it or not, there have been a few. In such a backdrop, as explained, the national netball team's victories are internationally known. It demonstrates the courage and resilience and the power of Sri Lankan women. We also have key figures like Jayanti Kurottampala, who, an empowered young woman, was the first Sri Lankan to scale Mount Everest a couple of years ago, and she was fortunate to find sponsors to help her, and she was able to obtain further endorsements and accolades. We had Susantika Jayasinghe, a strong, feisty young woman from the rural, poor areas, who wouldn't take no for an answer in order to train and win Olympic silver. We had the first female athlete at the Olympics in 1988. And the good news, this year at the Tokyo Olympics, 5 out of the 9 athletes that went to the Olympics are women. So, one was actually adopted as a baby and returned to represent Sri Lanka as an equestrian. We have a shooter, we have a gymnast, and 2 sprinters. So I'm, hopeful. So today, young sporting women are much more empowered and aware. We now have a National Sports Council that seems determined to revamp policy to ensure fair and just decisions are made with selection, impartiality, coaches, trainers, selectors, etc. And lastly, we now accepted the need and appointed committees to experts to investigate any sexual harassment and bullying in sport. And this is through the NOC, and I'm part of that committee as well. I'm happy to know. And so lastly, to misquote Neil Armstrong, one small step for a woman, but a giant leap for womankind. Before I finish, I want to tell you something. Today, you also, pay tribute to some of the COVID victims who are well known. And I want to tell you, I lost my brother-in-law today and to COVID, sadly. And on any day, I would have backed out. But, we women, we sportswomen, we strive and work hard to overcome adversity. So thank you for giving me the space.
So sorry to hear that, Caryll.
Yeah. That's okay. I mean, I wanted to be here, so thank you.